Hey there, people and peopleettes. So it finally happened. After the speculation over the last few years, and the rumors especially since the success of the Mario movie, we are now getting a Legend of Zelda movie. The only really surprising thing about that is how and when it was announced. Usually stuff like this is announced at either a direct or something like the Game Awards. I mean, Nintendo does announce things on Twitter and really has over the last few months, but I really wasn't expecting the Zelda movie to come out of that. But regardless of how we got the information, we've got it now. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. Julie, do the thing! Coming to a theater near you in the next 5 to 10 years. Probably. The Kingdom of Hyrule is in danger, and it must be saved again. A hero has risen every time evil has shown itself in the history of the Kingdom of Hyrule. But will this hero be able to live up to the task? The Legend of Zelda. Live action. I would simultaneously love and hate if that was the subtitle of the movie. But live action, that's where I want to start this thing, because to be honest, it might be the most concerning thing to me. I really thought after the success of the Mario movie that they wouldn't even attempt a live action anything with Nintendo. But you know Nintendo, they really don't ever do what you expect them to. So now that I've said on the news for the last few days that it is going to be a live action, regardless of what I think would be better, I really think that they can make this work. But I feel like it has to be done with great care. I mean, casting is extremely important, but I think for a live action, one of the most important things in a fantasy world like this is the CGI and the costumes. You don't want it to look cheesy. You don't want it to look weird. I mean, is anyone else like me? You see this person in this costume and it's just terrible and you just cringe on the inside because it's like supposed to be this more serious thing and it just, for some reason, you're internally dying for no reason. Or maybe it's just me that it bothers that much. But Nintendo is backing this movie up financially more than 50% and having a big hand in the development of this movie. So to be honest, that makes me feel a little bit better. A little bit. I mean, it's not like everything that Nintendo does is amazing, and movie adaptations of video games honestly struggle in general. But often when the original creator is involved, it usually leads to a better quality because I feel like they know the audience a little bit better than an outsider who's trying to make it from their fan perspective or from their perceived perspective. Similar to the new live-action One Piece, Oda had a lot of say in that, and therefore there's a lot of things that carried over from the anime that wouldn't have had Oda not been as involved. I mean, I'm just glad it's not some company out here doing it with no Nintendo involvement whatsoever. I mean, we could have got something like the last Airbender movie, which I made myself watch, and I wish I wouldn't have. But since there's some big company involvement with Nintendo and Sony, I feel like they have the money to do the CGI and the great wardrobes, costumes, all of the thing, casting and everything. The thing is, will they execute it well? I mean, the thing with CGI and costumes in a Zelda movie is you got several races that aren't really human. I mean, you got Hylian, Sheikah, and Gerudo. Yeah, you can just give them some costumes and we're good to go. But I'm assuming the movie's also going to have a few Zora, Rito, Gorons, and probably even some Koroks. I mean, these races, I'm assuming, will be at least partially CGI. Surely they won't just dress a dude up in rocks for a Goron, right? Right? But since Nintendo is so involved with this and the money is there, I am hopeful that the CGI and costumes will have a higher standard for what Zelda fans want and desire and hope to see. And if that's done, then the movie will look great because they have the means to do it. They just need to keep it from looking like that first Sonic trailer. And of course, if you're going to have a Zelda movie, you're of course going to have a story. I mean, most of us that are ridiculous Zelda fans, you know, the ones who have merch and shirts like this one right here, and have all of the amiibo, even though we don't use the amiibo for gaming, but for decor. You know, those guys who have watched hours of Zelda theories. We kind of love Zelda stories, and often consider them the best part of a Zelda game. It's where so much the lore and countless stories come from. So what kind of story will this movie be? Will it be an original or a retelling of one of the games? I mean, personally, I think it will be an original story. There may be some parts that are implemented from games, but I don't think we'll get like a live-action Ocarina of Time. Now, if they do go the route of giving a game a movie adaptation, like specifically, I think it will either be Ocarina of Time or Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword is the origin story of all of Zelda, the Master Sword, many different things, and really has just a massive amount of lore. And Ocarina of Time really had such a massive impact on the Zelda franchise, plus has a lot of story and lore to back that up. But I'm going to be like Thief for a second and say that there's only a 2% chance that they go down the road of using an old story instead of an original. Also, since we're still on the subject of the story, I think that Zelda is going to play a pretty decent role in this story. I don't think she's going to be the damsel in distress that needs saving. I think that she and Link will be on this adventure to save the kingdom together. They might be separated for part of the movie where one of them gets lost or something like that, but I just don't think that we're only going to see her in like the opening scene. She gets kidnapped and then we don't see her again until like the last 10 minutes of the movie. Side note about the video I'm making here, do you know how hard it is to talk about a Zelda movie? Because every time I try to talk about this, I want to say Zelda game. Do you know how many times I've had to re-say the word movie in this video already? But anyways, speaking of Zelda and Link, I feel like the talk of the interweb right now is who is going to play them and every other cast member. To be honest, I think that Zeltic spoke pretty good about Link in saying that he needs to be someone who isn't like an A-list celebrity, you know, someone that we all know. Now, me, myself, I don't mind if Link speaks in the game. I don't mind if he has a little bit more personality than he normally does. I would just like him to stay kind of a more reserved and quiet main character. I think one of the big hookups with a lot of game adaptations is we expect them to be so much more like the game than what they are. I mean, you're converting a 60-hour experience that you're immersed in all of the time into a 2-hour movie. And sometimes the characters do have to go through a little bit of a metamorphosis for the change to a movie, which of course happens to the main character more than it usually does anyone else because you're playing through the main character. Everyone else is, you know, an NPC. But I feel like casting Link as someone we don't know really adds to that quiet swordsman who really doesn't speak a lot and is kind of carrying the weight of the entire kingdom on his shoulders. Now, Zelda and really every other character in the entire story, I think it could go either way. It can be someone that we all know, A-list celebrities, or it could be someone that we really don't know too. In fact, casting Zelda as an A-list celebrity and Link as someone that we don't know yet, I think would really help emphasize that quiet, reserved demeanor that we're wanting to give Link. That being said, I don't really have my heart set on really any specific person playing a specific role. Out of all the names I've heard so far, I think that Florence Pugh would make a great Zelda, and I think that Dwayne Johnson or Hugh Jackman would make a great Ganondorf. I mean, they're both pretty big guys, especially Dwayne Johnson. You wouldn't even have to really do anything to him, just give him a costume. But if Link does get played by an A-list celebrity and the general public seems to have their way, I think it's going to end up being Tom Holland, which may be the best celebrity I can think of. I mean, for a big celebrity, Tom Holland does seem to try to keep certain parts of his life kind of in the shadows, and I think that kind of fits with what we're talking about with Link here. Of course, this is me making the assumption that they're going to go with the teenage to young adult versions of Link and Zelda and not the 10-year-old versions that we got in some of the games like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and some of those. I just don't think that we're actually going to get the younger versions. I think it will be the older versions. I mean, we might get some flashbacks or something like that, but I think the main part of the movie will be the older versions of Link and Zelda. But I don't guess we'll know till the trailers start rolling out. Of course, there's other characters that we'll get to see in this movie as well. I mean, Impa's kind of like the fourth wheel to the Triforce trio. I mean, speaking of which, we might even get to see the Triforce trio, you know, the original ones. Din, Farore, Nehru. Maybe we'll get to see Hylia. Maybe we'll actually get to see the goddesses in this movie. But even if we don't get to see them, I'm sure we will get to see Impa. I'm sure we'll get to see the great fairies, Beetle, possibly Pyrrha, and I'm kind of thinking that we're going to get to see a Tingle cameo at the very least. And I heard someone say that Danny DeVito should play Tingle, and I'm going to be honest now that that information is in my head. If Tingle is going to be in the movie, it better be Danny DeVito. If it's not, do not put him in the movie, okay? It needs to be Danny DeVito. But let me know who you guys think would be a great cast for our Zelda squad, and how are you guys feeling about this movie announcement? Personally, I'm a little nervous about the whole live action thing. I mean, I wanted a Smash Bros. Movie. Is that even going to happen now? If it does, how are we going to get that? Is Link going to become animated? Is Mario going to become live action? That really doesn't need to happen. I don't know. I guess that's a topic for a different day. But if you guys liked the video, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. And if you're wondering what could be in the next Zelda game after Tears of the Kingdom, check out this video right here.